I'm Mike DeLuca. Welcome to this rare, in-the-trenches look at the craft of screenwriting. Today I'm joined by Nia Vardalos, who wrote the script for Connie and Carla, as well as the gigantic independent film hit, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, for which she earned an Oscar nomination. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
Had you written any screenplays before My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
No. No, it was I know, it sounds ridiculous.
No, it's great. It's wonderful.
I think the lesson in everything that happened to me for people is don't listen to the odds. Don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to, the odds of you getting hit by lightning and kidnapped by terrorists are greater than your screenplay being done. Just if you want to have a story to tell, just write it.
As an aspiring actress, what first made you think you could write a script?
Oh, desperation. Just purely trying to get an agent.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, so the first impulse was to use it as a way to get an agent?
Yeah, I couldn't get an agent to keep me for longer than a couple of months, and I was dropped by everybody. They kept saying that the problem was that I was Greek and not a visible minority, and
I'm sorry. Not a visible minority?
Not a visible minority.
Did they think you were an invisible minority?
Like the woman said, you're not white, you're not ethnic, I don't know what you are. And I said, I'm Greek. And she said, don't tell people that.
Was it a big struggle to translate that one-woman show into a full-length screenplay with many characters? Was it a hard process to translate?
It was kind of the other way. I wrote the screenplay first because what happened is I got up and told the story of my real-life marriage. And I had a friend who was a writer who said, hey, don't do that. Don't tell your idea out in LA, land of stealers and liars and thieves. And so I thought, oh man, so he said, you should register it. And I called up the Library of Congress and asked them what the process was, and you can't really register an idea. So that's when I got the idea to write it into a screenplay and register the screenplay and then do it as a one-woman show. So it's like I was drawing from the screenplay. The screenplay, because it was registered first, I think is why I was nominated in the original category, not adapted.
Oh, okay.
But it's always, in the press it said, adapted from a one-woman show, and I go, all right. It was kind of a chicken and egg situation.
So you had performing it in mind as you were writing it?
Definitely, yeah. Always. I had performing it in mind. I was thinking as a play, not really thinking as a one-woman show until I saw around town, like, oh, that's a good idea, and cheap.
How did you learn the format of a screenplay?
I had done a couple of movies that went direct to video. I had 6 lines in that one and 20 lines in that one. And I looked at a screenplay and I looked at the format and I thought, what is the difference between 111 pages or my uncle telling a hilarious story at the table? Beginning, middle, and end, arc. Exaggeration.
You applied practicality to the process.
I did. I just applied simple storytelling. I didn't know about that you have to break your characters by this page. I know it now. I don't pay attention to it. I don't pay attention to rules and format or anything.
So you're not rigid when it comes to these rules?
No, I actually think rules, the oldest cliche in the book, that rules are made to be broken and all these things. Sure, for some movies, rules do apply and you should stick to the format, but it doesn't work for me. And the one thing that I try to tell new screenwriters and people who want to do this for a living is, don't use my process, don't use his process. What's yours? And even that word process and, craft.
It makes it sound like cheese.
Yes, yeah.
So it's what you kind of feel your way.
I do. I do. Well, through life. Through it all, I just kind of, does this work? Does this feel right? And it's mostly, when you write something and you think, I'm awesome for one page. And the next page, you're like, I stink, and that's just it. And eventually it will all smooth out and it'll be like less stink through the whole thing.
Do you outline before you start writing a screenplay?
I don't really. The only thing recently, I just, I'm writing, it's like, I'm living someone else's life. So
a writer's life now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And so I have this project with the lovely folks at Revolution Studios, and they had an idea, just a title, and that's all they had, a title, and said I could write whatever I wanted and play whatever I wanted.
I'm dying. You have to let me ask you what the idea is.
The title that they gave me was I Hate Valentine's Day.
Not a bad jumping off point.
Yeah, you can see the poster. So I don't really write for hire. I usually just kind of, I have an idea about this and I'll write this and then try to sell it. This was the opposite. And so I said, I think I could do that. So I went in 10 days later and told them an idea and they bought it. And I was like, suckers. God, I'm so full of shit.
They'll never see this. Some people at Revolution should be checking out a program about screenwriting because they'll probably never see it.
And so, that's a completely different way of writing for me. That I actually told them what the idea was going to be, but I tried to not be too detail-oriented because I know that if they got stuck on one one thing that they loved, and then as I'm improvising writing, that goes out the window. I knew I would run into problems.
How do you typically develop an idea once you've got the initial kind of lightning bolt about it? How does it germinate from a seed to a first draft?
Well, the two scripts that I'm writing right now are both completely different processes. So the one for Universal was an idea that was told to me in 4 story points, and then I got to fill in the rest. So I did the same process. I listened to the story points, I wrote them down, I post-it noted them to my, is that the verb? And, to my,
it is now. You're Oscar nominated. You could make up whole phrases if you want.
Yeah.
Now, who supplies the 4 points? Where does that come from?
Those came from Tom Hanks.
Okay.
He had 4 things that he thought would make a good story, and he's absolutely right. And again,
I would take his word for it.
Yeah, I think he knows what he's doing. And so I put those 4 points on my lamp, and then I just wrote, and that was
your lamp.
Yeah, my lamp in my office, click, and so they're illuminated, like, these came from Tom. And then for I Hate Valentine's Day, I just went back in, told them the idea, went home and wrote. And then that was the one that I was stuck on. I got to a point in the story that I worried that the guy was wimpy, and I didn't know what to do. And so I went to Australia and just thought it over. And
then you're able to come back with a fresh start. When you're given an idea, how do you bring structure to it?
I think it's the same thing as a story. You know how you tell a story that happened to you in college or in high school, and over the years of telling it, you know the beginning, middle, and end, you know what to punch, and you know which character gets the biggest laughs. That's kind of when I start writing. I know where I'm going, but I don't outline on cards.
Does your acting or the study of acting influence your writing now?
Yeah, because I think what it is, I have no idea of my physical limitations. I sometimes forget I'm a girl. And because at Second City, if I wanted to play a Native American character, I would just part my hair in the middle, braids, walk out. And you could be anything you wanted in improv. And like if they called for Jesus, if you're in the wings, you'd walk out and you were Jesus. And so sometimes when I'm writing, I of course, play all the characters. And it's the only way I think that I can write dialogue if I speak it out loud and have everyone talking to each other.
Okay, and that's still something you do to this day? Do you have comedy or just writing gurus in general, or people that have kind of influenced you, or the people that you talked to before you wrote the script?
I definitely do, and the luckiest thing that happened to me since the explosion of My Big Fat Greek Wedding is I got to meet writers that I admired, writer-directors like Alexander Payne and like Paul Haggis. And I asked them questions that I wanted to know really for my own edification, like how do you write and what do you do? And I found out no one likes it. We all hate it, and that was really like therapy for me because I hate it. It's very lonely, and I have a voice in my head that tells me I'm a faker and I should never be here, and the minute it comes out of the printer, I'm like, I wrote this. It's mine. Nobody touch a word, I'll kill you.
What's the hardest part of screenwriting for you?
Sitting down every day and starting.
The discipline of it. Is that something that's improved for you over time?
No.
It's still a pain in the ass?
It's a pain in the ass, it really is. I will put it off all day. I will clean the house. I will have sex with the neighborhood before I will sit down and write a script.
Are you working on anything right now?
Let me give you my address.
So you procrastinate until you have to do it?
Have to do it, yeah. Have to do it. But then it doesn't work for me to be under the gun, to be under looming deadlines. So what I've tried to do is just say, if you sit down by 10 a.m., just sit down by 10 a.m. and write. And then I just don't force it. If by 2 I can't do it anymore, I go shopping. I garden. I play with my dog.
So you're not rigid about that either. Some writers will adhere to a discipline where they're just going to sit there until they get 10 pages or whatever.
Doesn't work for me at all. I can't. You can't force creativity. But I do force myself to sit and stare. And if something comes out, great. And if I'm writing till 10 at night or till the next day, sometimes I don't come out of that office because something happens, and for 24 hours I'm in a zone and it's great. But the next day, bink, nothing.